Welcome to the most consequential decision you'll ever make. So, you're thinking about having kids, or maybe you're thinking about not having one, or maybe you've already made a choice and you're watching this video to confirm you didn't ruin your life either way. Welcome to the most consequential decision you'll ever make, where everyone has an opinion and nobody has your answer, and somehow your auntie thinks that her 2 cents over a family dinner should guide your entire future. Today, we're going to ask questions people avoid, challenge assumptions on both sides, and make everyone just a little bit uncomfortable. Because if you're going to talk about creating human beings, we should at least be honest about it. Let's think again. Let's start with the big one. Will having kids make you happy? Here's where the research gets interesting. A lot of studies in high income countries show that on average, parents report lower day to day life satisfaction than non parents, especially during those early years. They have more stress, more exhaustion, and less freedom. And in one widely cited study, becoming a parent caused a bigger drop in happiness than unemployment or divorce, at least in the short term. Pretty bleak, right? But before every parent starts dissing me in the comments, those same studies show that parents report higher meaning in life. So, here's the philosophical tension. What if happiness and meaning aren't the same thing? What if some of the most meaningful things that you do in your life are actually very hard? Climbing Everest isn't fun. Running a marathon isn't fun. They're meaningful because they're transformative. Ask yourself this uncomfortable question. If having kids gives you meaning, is that selfish? It's like saying, hey, you have to exist because it gives me meaning. Or is it too cynical? Because you're also giving that person a chance on life. Already, this is more complicated than the cliches out there. Let's talk about the social script we rarely question. Having kids is seen as the default, and not having kids is this choice that needs explanation. If you say, I don't want kids, people instantly reply, why not? What happened? You'll soon change your mind. But if you say that, yeah, we want kids, nobody asks, why? What's your reasoning? What values is that decision based on? It's assumed to be self evident. But is it? Having a child is the biggest and most permanent commitment you'll ever make. You can change your careers, you can move countries, you can change relationships, but you can't unhave a child. So maybe the question shouldn't be, why don't you want to have kids? But why do you want kids? And are those reasons good enough for something this irreversible? If somebody walked into your home and put a baby on a table and said, this is yours now, minimum 18 years contract, would you mostly feel thrilled or terrified? But here's the twist. Nobody really feels ready to have a child. If humanity waited until every parent was emotionally and financially prepared, the species would have gone extinct years ago. Alright, let's talk money. Different countries have different costs, but analysis using US government data estimate that raising a child to the age of 17 for middle income family costs around $300,000. And that does not include university. If you put a degree on top, that's another 100 to 200K on top, depending on what they study. So that's a $500,000 in high cost systems. Let's sit with that. $500,000. That's a house, early retirement, a decade of career freedom, the ability to take risks, travel, build something, and live financially free. So the real question isn't, can you afford kids? Most people somehow make it work. The real question is, what are you giving up? And is that trade off worth it to you? But here's the counterpoint. What are you saving all that money for? To die with your beautifully organized investment portfolio? At the end of your life, do you want to be surrounded by people who you love or your assets? But also, kids aren't the only way to build deep relationships or legacy. You can create a community, mentor others, support a family, and live a rich, connected life without biological children. So, again, it comes down to your vision of a good life. Now, here's a tension people feel but rarely articulate: freedom versus commitment. Having kids means sacrificing huge amounts of autonomy, Late night outs become logistical operations. Spontaneous travel becomes a strategic planning. Your time, your sleep, your weekends are no longer yours. Some people love that shift. They find freedom overrated, anyways. They want structure, purpose, and someone who needs them. For others, losing that autonomy feels suffocating, even if they adore their children. So, here's a brutal but honest question: which regret would you rather live with? Regretting not having kids or regretting having them? Both regrets are real. If you don't have kids and later wish you did, you grieve the life you never lived. Painful, but fully yours. If you do have kids and secretly wish you didn't, you're carrying that regret while raising another human being. You can't say it out loud, you can't take it back. And that guilt becomes a part of the emotional ecosystem your child grows up with. I'm not saying which one is worse, but I'm saying they're different, and one includes another person's well being. That matters. Now, for some more uncomfortable stuff: climate, ethics, and antinatalism. One influential analysis found that in wealthy, high emission countries, having one fewer child could avoid around 58 tons of CO2 over a parent's lifetime. That's far more than any other individual action they measured. That number is debated, but the basic point stands. Kids significantly increase your carbon footprint in high emission countries. If you're deeply worried about climate change, war, instability in the future, that concern isn't irrational. And then there's the antinatalist question: is it ethical to bring someone into a world where suffering is guaranteed and consent isn't possible? And the counter argument to that is, if life is inherently unethical, should the human story just stop? Most people, if asked whether they prefer to have not existed at all, don't say yes. Life is suffering, yes, but there's also connection, sunsets, friendship, humor, dogs, music, and the quiet joy of being known by someone. Again, no clear answer, just questions you have to sit with. So forget the statistics for a moment, and here are the questions that actually matter. Do you want kids or the idea of kids? Instagram kids are cute. Real kids have public meltdowns, vomit on carpet, and wake you up at 4 am. Both experiences contain beauty, but they're not the same. Are you having kids for them or for you? Are you having kids to save a relationship because you're supposed to? Or you fear of being alone at 70 because of your parents who want grandkids or just want to pass on your family name? Those are the reasons that create pressure and sometimes resentment. Would you be able to love them for who they are and not who you wish they'd be? What if your children have disabilities? What if they reject your worldview? What if they want a life completely different to what you have imagined? Can your love stretch that far? What does your version of a good life look like? When you strip away culture, pressure, expectation, and the life that you actually want to live, are there kids in it or not? There are no incorrect answers. See, there is no universal correct answer to should I have kids or not. For some people, having children is the greatest source of meaning they will ever experience. And for others, it would be a genuine mistake that shrinks their freedom, identity, or well being. Both realities can be true. But the problem is that we pretend there's the right choice that applies to everyone. So if you're deciding, here's my suggestion. For a moment, silence everyone else's voice: your parents, your friends, your partner, this video, the culture, the pressure, and quietly ask yourself, what do I actually want? If the answer is clear, honor it. If the answer is I don't know, that's not failure, it's honesty. Just remember, whatever you choose, you're giving something else up to gain something. There's no path without sacrifice. Which trade off feels worth it to you? Only you can answer that. Thanks for watching. And if this video made you more confused but more honest, I would consider that as a success. See you in the next video.